Hello. Now that this has been drying for a day, we need to wash it one time before we start ironing it. The reason why I wash it, if you notice, there's a lot of these black water dry spots that were on there, and if you were to iron this right away, all your colors would be very muted because you'd be mixing that black dye in with that wax. So I have a wet rag. I got this wet a couple times. I rinsed it out, got it wet, rinsed it out. Just make sure there's no clay or paint or dye, they're from somebody else or something. So I have that. I also have a lot of drying paper right here, paper towel, that I'll use to dry it off. So I'm gonna get this all washed over and then we'll kind of talk about it. So you just go over top of this and you're just looking for those water spots. And hopefully even by now you can tell that this area is much cleaner than what it was. So I'm gonna get the rest of this done. Okay, now that I have this top part all washed off, I'm gonna dry it. So you can see that it still has some black dye on it. That's why we end up drying. Now I do have a little bit of black dye on my hands. To me, that's not a big deal. If it really bothers you, again, we do have rubber gloves over here, latex free, so you can use them if you want. I just wanna go through and dry get all that dirty water off of it. Okay, now that's done, we're gonna flip it over and we're gonna do the same thing. Okay, now that this is all done, I'm gonna set this off to the side. And then I wanna make sure that I clean up my area because there can be black dye kind of left over from what you just did. And you don't want people getting black dye on your clothes, so you just want to make sure you kind of clean up an area when you're all done with it. So I wash it, and this, like you saw before, even washing it doesn't do everything. Drying it is that last touch you need to make sure you get any black dye off of there that was on there. So we just try to clean up our area. Okay, now we need to get some paper out because we're going to iron this. So I'm going to show you how to do that. So this is our rack that we have that for our large roll of paper. We're going to use the white, but we need to get probably about 10 sheets. That's how long, probably even a little more than that, but we'll sort of start off with 10 and kind of go from there. In terms of how long to make it, you need the width of your Batik. So if I look at this, I need to pull out something that's going to be this width. So just by looking at this bottom corner here, it looks like I need a piece about this big. So what I do is I pull this out, and I can even throw my Batik up here. So this would be enough for the project. Now this is a tear bar. So you just kind of keep it a little tight, and then you lift up, and you just pull it off. Now we need about 10 of those. Okay, so hope I got that right. I thought I counted 10, but I miscount sometimes. Now we're gonna get set up in the kiln room, and I'll show you how to begin ironing it off. Okay, so we're back in the kiln room. And I have irons like this. Now I usually just kind of put it in the middle. This one right here says steam. It's off all the way on this side. You always make sure you unplug it when you're all done with it. And like anything else, you don't leave it down like that. It doesn't take super long to warm up. If I feel like it's taking a longer time to heat up, I will make it a little bit hotter, and then I might turn it down a little bit. I do have the ventilation on. Remember where the ventilation is behind the kiln on that side. This is where the door is at. Go across the wall, you'll see a light switch. That's what it's at. You also need one of these boards. There should be about 4 of them, I believe, because normally we can get 3 or 4 people back here, and you want to iron on this. So first thing, you set one of your pieces of paper down, grab your batik, set it over top of that, and you grab another piece of paper, you have this kind of like a sandwich technique. And what this ends up doing is it acts like a fabric where it's going to kind of soak up all the hot wax. I'm going to take my iron and set it down, and it's ironing it, which means just reheating that wax. And I want to do this until I really don't see this anymore. And it takes about 5 or 6 times. That's why you have about 10 sheets. And you might need a little more than that. I want to go right out to the edge. And I'm going to do this entire thing, and then we will show you how to switch it. Okay, now that I have this all done for this first one, I'm kind of remelting it because I need to be able to kind of peel off the paper so the paper doesn't stick to the wax. So it's starting to stick there a little bit. I'm going to again reheat that wax there, and the stuff behind it. Longer useful. And you also have to switch the bottom one. This one people usually forget, because you're also soaking up the wax with this one as well. Okay. Set that off to the side, grab my next sheet. One sheet down. Get your batik on here. Try to make sure it's not wrinkled. Nice and flat. Next sheet over top of it. And then you do this again. Okay? Like I said, it's going to take a little bit. Once you're done with it, you want me to call me over because I want to look at it. Because what happens a lot of times is usually you kind of forget, usually the edges. And the way that you know you got it all is it doesn't look glossy anymore. Because that gloss is that wax. Or I'm going to come in and take my finger, if I scratch and I peel up wax, I'm like, well, I got some other stuff. So it takes about the whole class period when you do this. If there's already 3 or 4 people back here, you just got to wait until you want to come in for prime time or study hall. Once you're all done, throw everything away, it's no longer recyclable. Unplug your iron and just make sure the place is cleaned up. Okay? Good luck on that. Let me know if you have any questions.